Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 168 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on June 27th, 2023. How are all you wonderful folks doing today? I hope you're doing well. Hope you're all enjoying the summer, gearing up for July 4th. Yeah, that happens on a Tuesday. Is that right? Tuesday, right? Let me look at the calendar. Yeah. That happens on a Tuesday, which means you got to take Monday off, right? So you get a 4-day weekend. Yeah, 4-day weekend, baby. Yeah. We will definitely be celebrating America's independence, but also there's a lot of work to do. And those 4 days are certainly going to be packed with work. I'm going to take full advantage. Of that time. So yeah, what I wanted to do recently was do more shooting with the Flow 7.62 on that 14.5, but I ran out of time this past weekend. I was doing ranch work. I just did not have the energy after the day ended to stick around and shoot. It was so hot and so much work. I was spent, so I'll have to save it for another day. And I was thinking about that today. And so I'm going to post a photo of that rifle with today's episode again. It's my current personal setup. A lot of folks ask me what I like to run. So right now I'm running that, the 14.5 inch mid-length gas, Daniel Defense M4A1 R3 upper with that 1-8 attacker, the Trijicon RMR on top of that, the Voodoo S in front when I feel like it. And the pistol I've been shooting, which I'm going to put in the picture as well, the main pistol that I've been shooting for fun lately, it's my Mark 23 with the Knight's Armament silencer. That system just feels correct because it is correct, right? I enjoy being able to shoot things that function correctly without having to mess with them. And sometimes not having to mess with stuff is good. I'm busy, and the theme of my life so far this year has been just being super busy. So when I can just set something up and it just works and I don't have to think about that and it's just awesome and smooth, and that's basically what I've been gravitating toward lately. Something, just leaving stuff configured in a certain way, not dicking with it, not changing it. And I've just been really having fun with that. And so I'm looking forward to just shooting for fun some more. And I hope to have time this holiday. I hope I have time to do that. So I think there's some neat stuff to talk about on today's episode. We'll go into the research of the Aero Precision Lahar-30 on the Mark 18 that was published last week. And then I have a general topic after that, just to thank all of you per typical, and also to give you a quick update on some Knight's Armament testing that I'm trying to put together for you, just stuff like that. Yeah. So let's get on with the show. The J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Legion Athletics. That's right. A dedicated sponsor of the podcast and the entire PEW Science effort. As you may know, I am a firm believer of a sound mind and a sound body, and I think that physical activity is important, and I think that things like strength sports and cycling and martial arts and any activity that expresses the beauty of human strength is something that is good to do. I think that participating in those activities is paramount for all people in all stages of life, and it means that we all have busy lives, and you might need some help not only fitting all that stuff into your schedule and prioritizing those activities, but you might need some help supplementing the nutrients you need to actually recover, and making sure you can continue the good habits that you're developing, so you're no good unless you can be consistent, nothing you do, exercise or sports or anything is really great without consistency. You got to do it all the time if you want to be good at it. And Legion Athletics can help. They can get the whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout. They don't have everything you need, but they got a lot of it. You visit legionathletics.com. There's a link in the show notes. Use code word PEW Science to save 20% off your first order. And if you keep using it, you'll get double loyalty points, which ends up netting you 10% off everything you ever buy after that. And I know they're doing a special right now for 4th of July. So I think there's even, oh goodness gracious me, I'm going to butcher it, so I'm going to go to the website really quick. I'm sorry this ad is taking a little so long. Oh, yeah, that's right. July 4th sale, buy one supplement, get one 50% off. And then you get a free $20 gift card on orders over $100. So it's like basically, if you're going to use the code word PEW Science to save 20%, you should probably do that now as well, because it's the July 4th sale. That's right. So getting strong is important. All right. I hope I don't take sponsorships lightly. I don't just accept anybody to be a sponsor of the podcast. If you can believe this, I am approached quite a bit, quite often, for folks to sponsor the podcast, sponsor PEW Science, do affiliate links, things like that. I don't take that lightly, and so Legion is something I'm actually proud of. So yeah, go check them out. And if you don't want to, that's okay too. The J Situation podcast is also proudly sponsored by Top Gun Range Houston, yet another purposeful sponsor of this podcast, and they're pretty great, man. I met those guys this year. I went out to meet some of you folks when I did the range day there in Houston. And they have a 15-lane indoor shooting range. They got the largest firearm rental fleet in the state of Texas. You can rent pistols and rifles and shotguns, machine guns. And it's just really great for trying things out before you buy them. They sell silencers. All their employees use silencers. They use PEW Science data to educate consumers about silencers. It's pretty good, okay? Check out their inventory on their website at topgunrange.com. Find them on Instagram at topgunrange. They're good. They're good people, okay? This episode is also brought to you by High-End Armament Technologies. Something completely different, okay? High-end arms and accessories. Significant longevity in the machine gun and NFA game, and with regard to infrared sighting systems, thermal, night vision, these guys have been around and know a thing or two about a thing or two. Okay, if there's a weapon system that's rare, you're having trouble finding it, you want something crazy, like a crazy HK or Knights Armament thing you can never find, call Robert at highendarms.com, on Instagram at highendarms, and they even have a Facebook page, which is also, you guessed it, High End Arms. Okay, I hope they can help you out with your esoteric needs. Tell them Jay sent you. And, of course, the J Situation podcast and PEW Science in general is sponsored by the largest distributor of silencers in the United States, Silencer Shop. That's right. Who did you think I was going to say? You can use their kiosk, do your fingerprints and photos electronically, and in turn, you cut down on errors, you simplify your silencer purchasing process, you get a money-back guarantee. It's pretty good. No transfer fees, no paperwork errors, just you and your silencer with no drama. It truly is silencer ownership simplified. They're pretty good. They do help. They do help the effort. And they endorse the silencer sound standard and the suppression rating. Did you know that? That the largest distributor of silencers in the United States supports the silencer sound standard and the PEW Science suppression rating? Isn't that cool? I thought it was cool. So I put extra coupon codes and stuff in the show notes for you guys. True Shot Gun Club out of Arizona, Killer PEW Science, $20 off the membership there. Code PSTEN, PS10 at magpul.com. Get $10 off the mags when you're buying a bunch of them, which you should. And of course, and most importantly, always, now, and forever, this podcast is brought to you by PEW Science. Pushing the silencer industry forward one test at a time. Visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating, the simplest and most accurate hearing safe rating for your suppressed small arms based on true human inner ear response of the entire gunshot from before combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone. PEW Science is the home of the silencer sound standard. With 7 sections, it provides you the most in-depth and accurate silencer data and analysis in the known universe. Check it out at pewscience.com. And you can support this podcast. You can support PEW Science. You can support all the testing I do, all the research that I do for you by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. And if you're not into recurring things, you can donate. There's a one-time donation function on the website. And you know what? If you don't want to spend any money at all, that's fine. Something that's free and doesn't cost you anything. You can give this podcast a good 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify. Let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome. We normalize the use of suppressed small arms. We normalize using correct data to protect you and the public. It's awesome. Let's do it. 2 topics for you today. Topic 1, Sound Signature Review 6, 116. the Aero Precision Lahar-30 on the 5.56 MK18 short barrel rifle. You already saw the bolt action 308 data for the larger Lahar-30L in Article 6.112. Now this is the mid-size version of the Lahar series on 5.56, mid-size but short, 6 inches long. How does it perform? This is the technical discussion of the article published last week, okay? So we'll go into that. And then topic 2, summertime testing. That's right. Summertime testing is in full gear, and a lot of great manufacturers are making neat products. A lot of neat data is being gathered. What a time. What a time to be a silencer consumer, and whether you're a weekend warrior, coyote hunter, or maybe you're a CQB trainee in a shoot house, or maybe you're a long-range tactical enthusiast and you're shooting at a mile. Or maybe you just plink in your backyard or at your farm. You know, whatever you are, there are most likely great things available for you to enjoy, suppress small arms. And so I want to talk about that and just mention that for everybody. There's what a great market we have now. And so thanks for continuing to trust PEW Science to characterize all this stuff for you. It's an honor. Okay, it's a great joy, I think. Okay, so topic 1. At a time of 11 minutes and 26 seconds. That's not too bad. Had a lot of stuff to tell you there. All right, let me get some water. Okay, so yeah, topic 1, that sounds like you can review 6.116, Aero Precision Lahar-30, 5.56 MK18. Technical discussion of the review that was released last week of the mid-size Lahar-30 silencer in the line of 3 silencers, the L, the 30, and the K. You saw the 30L on 308 in review 112. This one is the mid-size silencer, the shorter one, on 5.56. Okay, so we'll get into the technical discussion. Man, I tell you what, before this podcast, I don't know, some of you following on social media know this already, but I know not everyone uses social media. I tell you what, so that Legion Athletics folks that I talked about in the ad I read about them earlier, I've been using, I started off using some of their stuff before I agreed to the sponsorship. I wanted to try some of their stuff. So I tried some pre-workout and post-workout and yada yada. Well, now that they're sponsoring me, I've been using a lot more of their stuff. So I actually have been using the stimulant-free pre-workout, and their pre-workout's called Pulse, by the way. They have a caffeine version and a non-caffeine version. Before this podcast, I took half a scoop of the caffeine version and half a scoop of the stimulant-free version for a 1 scoop total dose with a quarter of the dose of the caffeine of a serving, because 1 serving of pre-workout is 2 scoops. Okay, so that makes sense. So right now, I feel like, because it's a little bit later in the day, I didn't want to take a bunch of caffeine, but I wanted a little bit of caffeine because I was kind of tired from work today. So I needed a little bit to pick me up, but I wanted a lot more of the other ingredients that are in the pre-workout, because I just like the way that makes me feel. You know what I'm saying? So that's awesome. I've also been using their immune system supplement. I've been using their joint stuff, and it's way too early for me to give a judgment on the joint stuff. That's something I think you have to use for a while. And so yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. I've been using their whey protein. I actually got something. What is it called? I got something that I've been using with like intro workout. Remember I was using the post-workout stuff as an intro workout, which is like the recharge? No, that's not what you should do. I instead got something called Performance Surge, which I'm using basically during my workouts, during my powerlifting. And it's what it's supposed to do is give you some more stamina. I think it's probably an ATP blend, similar to how you can kind of convert some other stuff to ATP if you use it. So I don't know. I've been using it just to sip on as I lift. It's really hot in the gym. It's something to put in my water. I don't have a double blind test to show you it's doing something right now, but I'm using it. So that's some people, and the reason I'm telling you all this is because some people asked me kind of what I was using from them. So I'm using that right now as my intro workout, and then post workout I'm using the whey protein with their post workout powder in the whey protein. That's right. So, and that's something I've done. So, actually, someone reached out to me on Instagram and they said, "Hey, man, what kind of protein do you use, the casein or the whey? And are they both the same?" I was like, absolutely not. Post workout, whatever you do, whether it's a supplement or just like regular food, something that I really, really like is a protein that digests relatively quickly. And whey protein definitely does. And, if you're lactose intolerant, there are some whey proteins on the market. I'm not sure if the Legion Athletics has it, but you can get some whey protein on the market that has lactase in it, which will help digest the lactose in the whole system matrix if you have difficulty in your digestive system. So that's something to keep in mind. But something like eggs, like egg protein or whey protein, I would highly recommend post-workout. That's something that I have always done, and I have found that it is incredibly good for gains. So anyway, now that I've lost the people who don't enjoy fitness like some of you do, we'll go on with a technical discussion of this silencer. Good golly, Miss Molly, I tell you what, surprise data set, really, wasn't it? Yeah, I thought it was a great time to release it. This Lahar-30. Aero agreed. Aero and I kind of talked. We had the data for a while. We've kind of been talking about it. They're like, yeah, I think we should release this. Okay, I think so. And so you got to see, you saw the 30L, they're the full size Lahar-30L on the 308 bolt action in Article 112. And I've said it before. I said it in the previous podcasts. One of the wildest things to me about the Lahar series is the size of the models. It's the size. The L version, it's around 7.5 inches long or so, right? With the mount. The middle version I'm speaking about today, I actually have it in my hand here. The Lahar-30, the middle version, is only 6 inches long. Okay? It's only 6 inches long. So for all intents and purposes, the Lahar-30 is the length of a dedicated 5.56 silencer, right? And I have on my desk here, I got this Knights Armament. It's the QDC-CRS/PRT. I hold them next to each other, and they're the same length. I mean, actually, the Knights Armament's a little longer because it has like the flash shutter features and stuff. So it's a little bit shorter than the Knights Armament can. Barely. So, just for context, okay? Which is, that, by the way, that Knights can is a dedicated 5.56 silencer, okay? Okay, so, members, PEW Science members, if you go to the data visualization tool in the members ranking section and you filter by length, okay, what do? You can put the slider on the top end down to 6.2 inches or something like that. And the Lahar-30 with its direct thread mount, I think is 6.1 inches because I measured it at that. That's what I put in the database. So yeah, you can see the sensors drop off as you filter by length. So now remember, those lengths and weights in that tool, they're measured by me, right? They're the measurements of the specimens I'm testing so that they align with the suppression rating metrics that are computed from the test data. Okay, it's a package deal. You can't separate them. It's important. People talk about the data efficacy. Well, it's if you take it out of context, it might not be good for you. Right? So take it in context. Okay, it's important. Now, another wild thing to me about the Lahar series is what it does on this platform with its relatively simple baffle design, because the design seems to be optimized. And So first you saw the series in a very optimized configuration for supersonic 7.62 from a bolt gun. Okay, with the L version, the Lahar series, they're precision silencers. They're intended to be shot and not influence the accuracy and precision of your weapon. That's what they're intended for. It just so happens that they perform well in signature reduction for what they are. Okay, for what they are. And one thing that I personally was not certain about I didn't know how that was going to translate to 5.56 performance. Okay, I didn't know. And so you look at this shorter silencer, right? The mid-size Lahar-30. And it, of course, has less baffles than the full-size version, right? And so you think to yourself, man, it's overboard. Okay, strike one. It's only 6 baffles. Strike two. What does this mean for 5.56? Are we going to strike out? Oh, my God. Well, I tell you what, I was actually pleasantly surprised here. And I think the performance of this thing is actually pretty wild when you consider the size and the current data pedigree. Okay? Serious. Now, there are some things to think about. There are some things to think about when you factor in first round pop and stuff like that. But guys, Inconel blast baffle, apparently a low price point, so I'm told. And performance like this, it's interesting to me, okay? And it's very interesting at the shooter's ear on an untuned Mark 18, okay? So I hope you folks had time to digest all this since last week, okay? So what we'll do is we're going to go through the data per typical. Okay, so we're going to step through it. We're going to talk about what makes the silencer tick on the Mark 18 here, all right? And I'll give you a second to pull it up, okay? I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to PEW Science. Oh, I have the Legion website up because I was looking at what I use. Yeah, so I'm just on their site. What do I use? I use Immune. I use Vitality, Performance Surge, Fortify, and then the Vitamin D plus K, and the Pulse pre-workout, and the whey protein. Dude, I'm so like, okay, I'm closing it. I just got distracted by the pretty colors. Okay, pewscience.com. I'm going to open the member review, so you can go ahead and follow along at home if you want. Article 6.1.16. Okay, you can follow along at home in the member review or the free review. I won't leave you behind, okay? This is the 116th article in Section 6 of the Silencer Sound Standard at pewscience.com. Okay, so this is the Aero Precision Lahar-30 and the standard Mark 18 AR-15 direct thread onto the gun. Okay, so now that you have it pulled up, we'll start from the top. Okay, bottom line up front. 29.5 composite suppression rating, 27.3 at the muzzle, 24.2 at the ear. Okay, so right away here, if you've been following the research, you probably saw the shooter's ear number on this untuned Mark 18, and you were like, interesting. Quite interesting. Yeah, probably. And you're like, it's a 30 caliber silencer? 24.2 at the ear. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. All right. So you can scroll down. You can go and you can scroll down in this article. And if you are new to the sound signature reviews, which many of you might be, you can see in Table 1 that I provide a summary of very high-level metrics, the average peak measurements from the waveforms, and I do that for documentation and bookkeeping purposes. Okay, and what else is in that table? I talk about, or I list the ammunition, the weapon, the silencer, the mount, the composite suppression rating. Okay, so Table 1, that's a bookkeeping table. Okay, so to understand the actual performance of the silencer, you must use the primary rating graphic at the top of the page. And if you are super into this stuff, like super duper into this stuff, and you want to see the detailed behavior, you can scroll down past Table 1 and you can look at the actual measured sound signatures from the silencer. Okay? And we'll do that right now. So if you scroll down, you can get to Figure 1. That's right, Figure 1A and Figure 1B. And so what you are seeing here is the silencer's fingerprint on the Mark 18 in the free field in pressure space. Okay? This is pressure propagating in the free field, per the mill standard, but gathered with equipment that far exceeds that of the mill standard. This is the essence of the silencer sound standard. Okay? I'm saying this slowly because I really want you to get it. Remember, folks, in section 1 of the silencer sound standard, I wrote an open letter to the industry. One of the bullet points of that letter says that I was not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Okay? And I kept that promise. The silencer sound standard by PEW Science is a strict interpretation of the mill standard, and it is the most accurate interpretation. So, if you stop reading the article right now, and you stop listening to this podcast right now, that is fine. Because now you know what you need to know with the suppression rating, and you're done. Okay? You're done. But for those of you who want to see the power of this enhanced analysis, we can keep going. Okay? All right, you understand? I'm going to give you context here. You really need to understand, because I've seen some things. I see some stuff posted by people online that is blatantly false. And so I figured I make sure you know the truth. And you hear it from the horse's mouth here. You know what I mean? Okay. So you go back here to figure 1, now that you understand the context of what you're looking at. Figure 1A and figure 1B. In figure 1A, you see the entire signature of the silencer from before combustion takes place all the way until complete blowdown, and all of the combustion products have exited the silencer. And then in late time, in that same figure, you see the bolt closing and returning to battery after every shot. Except for in shot 6, because after that shot, the bolt carrier group locks back on the bolt catch. And why? Because the empty magazine, the follower came up and pushed the bolt catch up, and the bolt carrier group locked back. That's how an AR-15 works. And that's what you see in the data. It's cool, right? It's real. Imagine that. So it's really useful to zoom in to the early time of this entire event. That's right, the early time. And we know that this entire event happened very fast. But PewSoft is measuring data every microsecond. That's right. It's measuring data 1 million times every second. And because we are measuring that fast, we are capturing everything that is going on. Okay? And when we zoom in figure 1B, we can get a very high fidelity view of the combustion. Okay? Very high fidelity view of the combustion propagation. And it's not just the peaks. It's not just the peaks that we're capturing correctly here. No. One of the main reasons we measure data so fast at PEW Science is to capture the shapes, of the waveforms. It is the peaks and the shapes and other parameters that are very important for signature analysis, okay? And in figure 1B, you can see I've actually labeled 5 different peaks. I've labeled 5 different peaks, and all of these peaks are pertinent. They all represent something, and they give you context, okay? They're all real. They all show you something, okay? And so the first thing a seasoned PEW Science reader is going to notice in figure 1B is that the initial jetting and bullet shock is very consistent. Very consistent. But immediately the first shot looks different than shot 2, doesn't it? Immediately in time. Very early. Very early. So early. It looks different so early, in fact, that I labeled it immediate FRP divergence. Okay, so what that means is that the waveform measured during FRP, during the first shot, first round pop, the waveform measured during FRP immediately took a path that is different than the paths taken by the subsequent shots. Okay? The behavior during FRP is divergent compared to the rest of the shots. To diverge is to take a different path, a different type of behavior. You could also say that shot 2 is divergent from FRP, and then shot 3 is divergent. But I use the outlier as the divergent. waveform. Understand, it's easier for me to label FRP as divergent because everything else and just so happens to be consistent. But we'll actually, that's another point about the silencer we'll talk about in a second. Okay, so I hope you understand what divergence means in this context, because I'm going to use that word again, right? Because so it happens immediately. You get immediate divergence. Okay, I mean, right after it, right after that first jet and shock propagation. But then what happens when you immediately diverge? What happens just a short time later? Then you get major divergence. That's right, I labeled that too. I mean, it's not that much later, but it's pretty soon. It's pretty soon after this major divergence that a lot more combustion byproducts are exiting the silencer. And when you take a close look at the waveforms under this time regime, you can see that it's actually generating a lot more combustion byproducts out of the exit the entire time the first shot is going on relative to the subsequent shots, right until maximum gas momentum accumulation rate stalls, like right into the peak, right until you move into significant rarefaction. Okay, and I know the group of words I said just now are complicated, so let me say it a little bit of a different way. What does it mean? It means that you are pushing gas through the silencer, and when you start to run out of steam, all the shots pretty much behave the same, including the first shot. Okay, that's a really simple way, an overly simplified way of saying that. So, at a high level, you can see that the FRP event is quick, and it's controlled, but it is significant. It's quite significant. And in this combustion regime, at this release rate, at this amplitude, with these phase components, what does the analysis show? Well, the analysis shows that it's more hazardous to the inner ear. And the FRP of the Lahar-30 on the Mark 18 is objectively louder than the follow-up shots. Objectively, okay? When we see this in the impulse waveforms, this type of behavior, it doesn't always result in a more severe FRP, but the features in these particular waveforms do. This does. This does result in that, and I guess Figure 2b can give you some good insight into that. Speaking of, we'll move to Figure 2. Okay, look at Figure 2 for more context. And just like Figure 1, you got two of them. In Figure 2, you have Figure 2a, and you have Figure 2b. All right, and this is how I go, and skip from pressure space to talk about momentum, because now what we've done is we have the momentum transfer potential functions, which are impulse. Okay, so and this is where the conclusion regarding peak gas momentum transfer comes from, because you can see that in Figure 2a, and then you see it zoomed in for the first three shots in Figure 2b. So you see how as soon as the peak is reached, the FRP is like, all right, we done. We good, fam. It's almost like it disappears. Isn't that crazy? Super interesting. That doesn't always happen on the suppressed Mark 18, does it? No, it doesn't always happen. You know, and that is something that's really, it's a little odd. It's a little odd. And I think this is a good time to talk about the signature of the Lahar-30, really, because in this way, the signature is actually doing a few things that don't usually happen on the Mark 18, and it's doing them. I'm trying to say this carefully. You don't usually see this happen unless silencers are bigger and they have a tighter bore. So another way to say this would be, it's doing a few things that don't usually happen, especially on a smaller silencer, especially when you're overboard. Okay, is that a better way to say it? I'm trying to think. I don't want to confuse you. Okay. I mean, quite simply, guys, the Lahar-30 for a 30 caliber silencer on the Mark 18 is producing signatures that are so consistent, you would think it was a 5.56 silencer. Okay, that's bottom line here. And that's based on the data, and you can see it in the impulse histories in Figure 2. That's the pay dirt here, guys. This is highly atypical. It's highly atypical. And if you would like to examine other impulse accumulation from other overboard silencers of the Mark 18, like when I talk about overboard, I say silencers with bores that can accommodate much larger calibers than 5.56. Look at Research Note 2 in the article. If you get super complex with your silencer internals, like with the Helios QD or the Nomad, you can be pretty consistent with a huge overbore. Heck, the Helios QD is incredibly overboard. That's what makes it such an awesome machine gun silencer, actually. You know what? I will take the opportunity to say this. For folks that haven't ever shot the Helios QD full auto on a machine gun, it is probably, I'll say this, it is probably objectively one of the best 5.56 machine gun silencers that exists. Full stop. Like, just the entire experience of you shooting the Helios QD on a full auto weapon, it's literally a dream. The Dead Air Nomad, it can tame stuff like that, but not like this combustion you see on the short barrel, but it's not as consistent. It's consistent, but it's not as consistent. Okay. So when you look at those two, you think, okay, the Helios QD and the Nomad, those are outliers. Those are outliers, right? Because they're larger bore, but they're taming secondary combustion on the Mark 18 to give you more consistency. So they're outliers, right? Okay, why is that? Well, the Nomad shares some similarities with the Hyperion technology, which is in the Helios QD. So that makes sense, right? Okay, so then you got to think, well, let's look at the simple baffle 30 caliber silencers, that, the simple 30 caliber or overboard. Don't call them 30 caliber if you don't want to. Call them overboard silencers in the Mark 18. Let's look at those. The Rugged Razor stuff, the Energetic Armament Arcs, the Q Trash Panda, the Sam NS. Go to every single one of those test reports, and what do you see? The impulse waveforms get to Super Crazy Town, USA, population U. That's right. Why? I think we've talked about this, guys. Look at Research Note 2. They're all linked. I literally linked them all in that Research Note 2. Okay? You go into this looking at you're looking at the Aero Precision Lahar-30, and you're like, dude, it's going to be wild. It's not going to be able to tame the combustion. And I was thinking that, actually, and you, like me, in fact, would be wrong. You would be completely and utterly wrong. Because when you scroll back up and you look at Figure 2A, it's taming the Mark 18 as a 6-inch 30 caliber silencer, and it's doing it with the typical curved cone baffle. The difference here, in Aero's case, it's optimized geometry in a tubeless envelope. So it's got to be that they have enough volume with enough optimized curvature and aperture and spacing. So they got the parameters correct enough to correctly and efficiently manage the flow rate out of the silencer. That's just the brass tacks, right? That's what they had to do. And that's what they did. Okay. So on the short barrel Mark 18, this thing is actually taming the incredible secondary combustion you can see, and you can see it in the public research supplement for the Mark 18 on pewscience.com. It's doing things with a big bore that so far were only being done by Hyperion technology and Nomad technology. And it's doing it with a simple, highly optimized design, and they're punching up with it. They're punching up. Okay? Aero is punching up in a big way. It's not typical. It's just not typical. The waveforms alone show you this. Okay, the only 30 caliber silencer that we've tested so far and published that comes close to the consistency on the Mark 18, guess. Thunder Beast Dominus. Right? If you remember. Thunder Beast Dominus is pretty consistent. But what's the difference between a Dominus and a Lahar-30 at a high level? Well, the Dominus generates a more harsh signature. It's not as good for your ears. Okay? Too bad, so sad. Point is, though, consistent. Yeah, I'm starting to think that the manufacturing methods might result in some consistency too, because some of these guys are so Thunder Beast is known for their super high quality stuff, but also Thunder Beast is really known for a lot of their optimization. They really optimize stuff a lot too. They have some smart folks over there. Now, whether or not the signatures are the best, that's not really here nor there. But whether or not it's consistently optimized, well, they seem to be pretty consistent, and the Lahar-30 is no different. So interesting bedfellows that you would compare a Thunder Beast to a Aero Precision. That I did not have that on my bingo card for 2023 with regard to consistency on overboard Mark 18 performance. Weird. Anyway, so you look at this thing. And you see that it's almost, if you squint your eyes and blur them, it's almost doing what the YHM Turbo is doing, kind of, right? But it has a bigger bore, right? So things start to get interesting. You ask yourself, did Aero Precision crack the code on simple baffle geometry in this size envelope for a really good combustion release rate? Is their gas shaping just really good? Guys, the data says yes. The data says yes. We see it in the waveforms. The data says yes. Okay? The data says that for a 30 caliber rifle silencer, the Lahar-30 does the Mark 18 well. Okay? No. It's not all roses. It's not, you still have FRP. I talked about that in the review and also in the member review. You still have FRP. It's not all roses. Can it compete, for that matter, can it compete with the Flow 762 Ti with regard to back pressure? Is it generating back pressure? Well, absolutely it's generating back pressure. Can it compete with the Flow 762? No, not in the least. Different animal, completely different technology. The Flow is much more advanced. It's a completely different animal. But for the design of the Lahar, I probably said this before about it's a big brother, but it's probably one of the most optimized iterations of this simple technology we've seen. And when I say simple, I mean simple, guys. I mean, look inside it, and the back pressure, well, it's higher than a lot of silencers, but it's not high enough to destroy the shooter zero on this gun as bad, right? And so members can see that in the member version of the review. Let me, just for my benefit, so I don't lose myself. Oh yeah, guys. If you're a member, please look at it at least and read it. Okay. So just for everyone, for everyone's benefit, let's go ahead and go back to the public information, and we'll go to section 2 of the review, section 6.116.2. We'll look at the suppression rating comparison, and specifically we'll look at figure 6, which is the bar chart. That's right, the big bar chart, the red and the blue, It's the crosshatch and the diagonal hatch comparison chart that I like to give you context with. This is wild. This is when you really see the gravity. This is when you see the gravity of all this, okay? With no tuning, that could be, again, this is the Mark 18 H2 buffer, 070 gas port, okay? Carbine spring. This is standard gun. With no tuning, with a 30 caliber silencer, you are hitting SCI 6 levels of shooter's ear hazard on the Mark 18. That's right. The only other silencers that are beating this at the ear are the SCI 6 barely, the Hux Works stuff, and the OSS stuff, right? Depending on the model. What other... no, that's not even... those are 5.56 silencers. So Yeah, I'm looking at the chart. What are the 30 caliber silencers doing? Okay, Razor, RX, Razor 556. Okay. Salmon S, nope. Okay. Nomad, nope. Okay. 762 RC2, nope. Helios QD, nope. Flow 762, yep, that beats it. SCI 6 beats it by a little bit on the ear. Okay. Okay. Trash Panda, nope. Dominus, nope. Yeah. All the rest are 5.56 silencers. So, other than the flow stuff, the Lahar it's like, what? That's so wild. So you got to think. You think to yourself now, I mean, the natural thought progression is, what would happen if you tune the gun? What would happen if you tune the gun? Well, that's when the SCI 6 would beat the Lahar-30, obviously. Right? I mean, can't do magic. You understand that. Look at the numbers, right? You tune the gun, you tune the gun, and the SCI 6 is going to pull away. Too bad, so sad, right? You know that. But what would happen if you shot in your reflecting surfaces too? You know, it's funny. It's funny. You see people talk about how loud they think the Flow 556K is in the Mark 18, right? You see that. I see all kinds of stuff people saying. I love it. I see other manufacturers say this in writing on the internet. Literally, competitors of Huxworks I have seen in writing on the internet talk about, like, it's so loud. I'm like, I can't believe, dude, you're like writing that on the internet where things are stored forever. Are you sure you want to say something like that? It's so crazy. And then I think to myself, man, to form that opinion, I hope you're actually shooting the silencer in the free field. Because, you know, even consumers are getting this now. There was a dude on Reddit who corrected another user, and he told the user, I'm going to paraphrase because I don't remember the exact words, but he told the user, he said, hey, man, the PEW Science data is in the free field. So if you're shooting next to stuff, and you hear late time reflections coming back to you quickly, and the whole thing sounds louder to you, you need to look at the muzzle suppression rating of the silencer. Yeah. And if the muzzle suppression rating is super low, there's your answer. So people look at the Flow 556K and they forget that the muzzle suppression rating in the Mark 18 is like, what is it? What does it say in the chart? 25.8. Then they compare it to an RC2. And they're like, oh my God, the RC2 is so quiet. It's like, well, on a Mark 18, I can tell you right now, if you shot both those silencers on a standard untuned Mark 18 in the middle of a field without hearing protection, you better hope you have good health insurance if you're shooting the RC2. Okay, I don't care what you think you hear. I'm going to tell you what you're going to hear. Okay? So I say all this to say, look at the chart. See how they stack up. But you need to consider environment and your weapon, okay? If you tune a gun for the Lahar-30, you might have something that does pretty well. But if you tune a gun for the Lahar-30 and you tune it for some of these other silencers, you might actually not be able to achieve the performance of some of these other ones with a Lahar, and that's just physics. And I'm sorry, like, don't, you know what I mean? Like, take this in context. Look at the data. All right, it's important. All right, it's physics, guys. This is just physics. Okay, so I'll leave that as an exercise to you, for you to explore. That's your responsibility. I'm providing you standardized data. Do with it what you will. Okay, 1 second. I called the Silencer Sound Standard for a reason. Not playing games. All right. Now, apples to apples. What is the Lahar-30 like on the Mark 18? Apples to apples. Gun to your head. What is it like on the Mark 18? And you know what we can say? And bro, nobody would have ever believed you if you said this without the data. But you know the closest thing we have in the chart to this? You know the closest thing we have? The freaking Knight's Armament NT4. The signature severity to the shooter's ear on the Mark 18 from the two silencers is super close. And that is super wild. And you know what else is really close? Trash Panda. That's right. Turbo's kind of close. The YHM Turbo's close in totality. Very different when you look at the detailed behavior, but in totality, it's pretty close. So you look at this and you're like, would it actually compete with would the Lahar-30 actually compete with the NT4? Would it be as tough? I mean, obviously the NT4 is an ancient design. The mount's super loose, weird. It's like it's heavy, it's ancient, but prolific. Would the Lahar-30 be as tough as that Inconel NT4? I don't know. But I do know that the blast baffle of the Lahar-30 is Inconel, at least. So, the NT4 is probably tougher overall, I would think. I mean, maybe. I would think. I think for the majority of users, dang, man, the Lahar might be trucking along for a very long time. That's pretty neat. So, considering it's probably easy to clean, too, like, that's the funny thing about the NT4. That thing, you can shoot all the time. The buildup doesn't collect in a way that really matters that much for performance. Those things are tanks, dude. I'm kind of looking forward to. I don't want to get too far off topic, but I am looking forward to testing the reissue of those, the NT4 stuff. Anyway, this is interesting. This is because this silencer is so simple. It's 6 inches long. It's 30 caliber, and it's not trash on the Mark 18. No offense to the Trash Panda, who has trash in the name, which I'm not saying is trash. Obviously, Trash Panda is actually performing comparable to this, but this thing is 6 inches long. It's 30 caliber, and it's not trash on the Mark 18. And a lot of folks thought a 30 caliber silencer like this would be trash on the Mark 18, and it's not. And the data speaks for itself. I mean, look at the impulse waveforms. Okay. Look at the chaos every time we test a 30 caliber, almost every time we test a 30 caliber silencer in the Mark 18. Look at the chaos, and then look at this, and the Aero Precision silencer seems to be good at mitigating chaos. Yeah, does the 6-inch silencer have some FRP? Yes. Is it a simple design? Absolutely. You're not going to hide the FRP with this many baffles with the design. You're just not. You can't trick old Mother Nature. You can't trick physics. You're gonna if you showed me this silencer in this current design envelope, the 6-inch silencer that's 30 caliber with the baffle design it has, and it didn't have FRP on the Mark 18, I'd be like, "Are you a wizard?" So yeah. So I'm not surprised. You shouldn't be either. Now, my final thoughts on this. I don't know. How do I summarize? Durable, short. I'm told it's economical, pretty cheap. I don't know the cost. Whatever it is, it's not crazy. Modular on the back end. That's right. I forgot to say that. Folks tell me it's working fine on their rifles. Seems like an uneventful, boring workhorse, really. That's what it seems like. So that's neat. I don't know. Read the article, guys. I say a lot of this stuff in a more eloquent way. And with more details for you. That's right. Say it with more details. I think it'll help if you read it. And if you don't, I hope you got enough out of this discussion. It's not super light, but it's small enough to not be that heavy, and it's relatively compact. It's funny when you. I was just thinking about this. Like, everyone likes 5.56 silencers, right? And you look at this and you hold it in your hand, and it performs like a 5.56 silencer according to the data. And it's the size of a 5.56 silencer, and it's durable enough to be a 5.56 silencer on short barrels. And you can still tune the gun if you wanted. And then if you really wanted to, you could throw it on a 30 caliber weapon in a pinch. And it's not that expensive. I don't know, guys. It's compelling. I know that I don't give a lot of commentary on, I never recommend what things to buy, and I try not to endorse silencers. I don't want to endorse anything. I like to comment on what I perceive as market positions and potentials. And when I have this sitting literally right next to this Knights Armament silencer, I don't know how much the Knights Armament silencer costs. This is on loan from from a dealer. I'm sure it's like above $1,000, above $1,200. And then I don't know how much the Lahar-30 is. What is it? Somewhere between $400 and $600. So it's less. It's between a third to half the price of the Knights. And I know this. I don't know what this PRT silencer is going to do from Knights. It could be the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't know. I haven't shot it yet. Haven't tested it yet. But I think about the NT4, and I'm like, on the Mark 18, the Aero Precision is like giving the same signature, and everyone, what people say when they shoot an old NT4, they're like, man, that sounds pretty good. Look at the suppression rating compared to the Lahar-30. I wonder what you're gonna think when you shoot it. That's right, on the same gun as the NT4. You feel me? So think about that. I mean, FRP notwithstanding, but it's a good comparison. Something to think about. Aero came to play. You got to think about it. I don't know if you're in the industry. I'm just saying this food for thought. But last thing I'll say is thank you to Aero Precision. Thank you again for trusting me to do this work. It's a lot of work, and it's pretty high risk from the silencer company's perspective, unless they know their silencer performs well, which they did, which they kept telling me every time. It's funny. Every time I talk to Aero and I tell them that I thank them, and like I know it was a big deal for them to do it, every time they're like, yeah, but we know it sounded good, so. And I was like, yeah, I guess so. Isn't that cool when like both sides are super confident? Like I'm super confident in my analysis and the work I do, and when I have a client that's super confident about the performance of their silencer, and I think like when those two confident scenarios intersect, I guess you get this. I guess you get PEW Science. Yeah, so thanks, Aero Precision. I appreciate you using the silencer sound standard and PEW Science to show your product to the world. Can't thank you enough. I'm honored. All right, we'll move into topic 2, a time of 56 minutes and 26 seconds. Oh, man. Same second timestamp on both topics. Oh. Exactly 45 minutes. It's got to be some kind of good omen. Topic 2. Summertime testing is in full gear. Man, a lot of great manufacturers making great stuff, and there's so much data that we're gathering, and man, if you're in the silencer game right now, if you're a silencer consumer, oh, what a time to be alive. You have such good data to help you, and it doesn't matter if you're a coyote hunter, or you're shooting in the shoot house, or you're shooting long range, or you're shooting tin cans in your backyard, man. You got so many options nowadays, and so much great data, so much great products, and you guys are all trusting PEW Science to characterize all this stuff for you too, and you're using the data to make an informed decision. It's so cool, and it goes. I personally, and this is men's mental health month. I'm told by some people. I didn't really know that. They weren't really like they. I mean, they as in like the zeitgeist, like they as in, the collective, weren't really advertising June being men's mental health month. But I've been thinking about that, and people have been telling me, and I think we all, and I know there's some women who listen to this podcast too, and I think your mental health is just important, ma'am. But let's focus on the man for a second here, and I'll say, men need to look out for each other, and I think if things aren't going so well, and you want to talk about that with someone, it's okay, and you talk to your buddies, and maybe you check on your buddies too if you haven't heard them for a minute. I go through ups and downs here at PEW Science, and I lean on my friends for help with that, and my my wife, my family. It's a lot of work, and when you get stressed and everything, it can be tough. It can be tough to keep going, and everyone has their own challenges that they go through in life, and you never know what someone's going through. So that's why it's important to treat people with kindness and respect, because you never know what they're going through. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of the theme of this topic is this is so much work, and it's so rewarding. And I love doing it, and I love all of you. I love what we've created together. I feel like it's only getting more awesome with each test, and each article that's published is just becoming more powerful. And I think a lot, and some of you folks that listen to this, I know you're super secret squirrel guys, super secret squirrel tactical guys. That's okay. I think there's stuff here for you, and you tell me there is, and you tell me that the hitters use the data, and I know you do, and I know it helps, and I know if you're a coyote hunter, you're the same way. You're using a lightweight, quiet 308 bolt gun silencer on stuff, and that's cool. And I think if you're a target shooter, you do similar things, and I think the silencer market's so vast. I think there's so many choices. I think there's so many on the website now that have been tested. I think there's a lot of information that people are able to draw from as a resource. And I just love that we've created that. You know, I got this thing on my desk. I got this letter from the guy. I talked about this guy. I forgot what episode. He's the guy who has the daughter that designed that super cool Night Vision Club patch, the SCNVC with the unicorn on it. It says, you will look better than all of your friends. I'm so cool. Super cool Night Vision Club. It has a unicorn with nods and suppressed AR. That says I'm so cool in a little thought bubble. It's awesome. He actually made a sticker out of it, and then he has another sticker he sent me. He says repeal the FDA, and it has a cat with like lasers. It's awesome. He just made stickers out of them instead of patches. It's amazing stuff. He's a law enforcement officer. He does investigations. He wrote me a letter. I'm not going to blow up his spot and I'm not going to tell you who he is and what his whole letter, but he does it. One of the things he does in his job is investigations. And he's told me, like, for many reasons, the reports at PEW Science resonate with him due to their objectivity. And what this gentleman said, what this officer told me in his letter to me, his handwritten letter to me, God, it's like, it makes me want to tear up. It's so sweet, these damn people that support this effort, and so great. Just, you guys are so great. People like him tell me that it's not only him that's saying that it resonates with him. It's a lot of people that do objective work for their jobs, and all they want is data they can count on. Like, you know what? This is doing what this doing. I don't know if I want the sponsor or not, but I know the data that I'm consuming is based in fact. It's consistent. We're not moving goalposts, you know? And that's that respect, man. Respect for seeing that, and respect for doing that in your own job. It's awesome. Okay? You know, and when I started this effort, I knew it was going to be useful to people because I was using the information for myself. I was like, oh my God, it works. This is awesome. I will never forget. It's so crazy. I will never forget when I first analyzed the data from my rugged silencers, and I was like, oh my God, that's why the Surge is doing what it's doing. Oh, that's why my Razor is so loud. Oh, that's why the Radiant's louder than I thought it was going to be. And I got my custom serial number. I was so excited on my Form 4 to buy it. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so awesome. And oh my God, why is it louder? Oh, that's why it's louder. Look at the flow rate. Oh my God. I literally tested my personal silencers to develop PEW Science. I had to know what was happening. I was tired of getting hoodwinked. So when I figured out how everything was working, and I was like, oh my God, all I have to do is do this for everybody, then we'll never get hoodwinked anymore. I knew it was going to help everybody. It was a no-brainer. I literally scaled up my own lab experiment to a worldwide effort. And I'm here for it, okay, with your help. And we're going to keep it going. We're going to keep making this awesome. And we have so much dang data. The sky's the limit, okay? Speaking of, so this guy's sending me letters. People are sending me silencers to test. I told you guys last time. Didn't I tell you this? I told you this last time. We got an 11.5-inch CQB Mod 2 Knights Armament upper to test. I told you that, right? I told you that? Well, guess what? Guess what's coming now this week? Guess what? A 14.5 Knights Armament upper. So those Knights Armament silencers might get tested on a bunch of systems when I have them. We got 3-prong, QDC 3-prong. We got the MAMs. We got 2 sizes of silencers. We got the Mark 18. We got the Daniel Defense 14.5 mid-gas standard host. We got the Knights Armament 11.5. We got the Knights Armament 14.5. Oh, just to make the Knights Armament silencer people happy, I figured why not make the most of them when they're here, these silencers. And look, and the folks are lending me the uppers. You know, people always say, well, the Knights Armament silencers are designed for the Knights Armament uppers. So if you don't, you have to shoot them on the Knights Armament uppers, or they. It's like on Team America, World Police, the creators of South Park, when they have they have the celebrities talking as puppets, and like they say something, and they're like, it's nonsense. We'll see how it goes, right? What? I'm going to test it. You don't like the answers? Oh, okay. You know what I mean? Why not? What if it's awesome? You know what I mean? Well, you know what I should do. You know what I should do? I should test the Knight's armament silencers and all that stuff, every single combination, and then I should just test the RC2 on it, or like the Flow 762. Like, oh my god, he put a Flow 762 on a Knight's upper. And like everyone starts jumping out of windows and committing suicide. No, but I'm not going to do that because the muzzle devices are probably like super hard to take off, and I'm not about to break these people's things. I was thinking about sending the uppers to a Pre-Sample Depot in Fort Worth. People tell me they're good armorers. I've never met them before or anything. I don't know anything about them except that they have Knight's armament stuff. But I could send the uppers there, get the muzzle devices removed. That way I could actually like give you guys some test data. Or I might just test it this weekend and not do that. Oh, that's right. I don't know yet. We'll see. I just wanted to update you guys on that. So, and you know, there's a lot of member funding going toward that. And one of the these things are going to be everywhere. And I've spoken with Knights enough to know that, I mean, Knights Armament knows about PEW Science. They're actually pretty cool. Knights Armament's pretty cool. And I know enough about Knights to know that their R&D department would love to see this data. But I also know that the dude running stuff is like, we don't need to do that. I'm like, all right. I'll do it myself, Mr. Reed Knight. And I'll send you the report. How about that? That's right. So stay safe out there, folks. I think it's cool. I think we're going to get some good data. I think I'm here for it. I'm excited, frankly. And frankly, I'm going to tell you right now about these Knight's armament silencers. I think they're so cool looking. I love the way they feel. I love the way they feel in my hand. I love the way the latch works. They're 3D printed. They're awesome. I can tell you right now, if this freaking silencer works really well and it's awesome, all you're going to do is see me shooting one. Because I'm going to shoot all the time. I'm just looking for that holy grail. I'm looking for that holy grail 5.56 silencer, and I haven't really found it yet. So I'm chasing it just like some of you are. I just want to have the best stuff. That's why I started this. I want to see what's up. All right. So again, stay safe out there. It's going to be a great holiday weekend. I hope you guys enjoy it. Long 4-day weekend. Stay cool, man. It's hot out there. Drink water. I know a lot of kids are off school right now. Man, go swimming. Stay out late until the street lights come on, man. Catch lightning bugs. Have a great summer. I'll talk with you folks again soon. All right, bye.